So you've clicked on this video because you're curious about Pulsetto. What is it? What does it do? And is it worth it? I go through it all in this review. I'm Jen from The Daily Move, and today we are reviewing Pulsetto. This is a wearable vagus nerve stimulator. But before I go into the ins and outs of this device and the tech specs and how it works, I want to talk about what is a vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is one of the longest and most important nerves in the entire body, running from the brain all the way down to the gut. We say nerve singular, but it is actually two nerves running alongside each other. At the very basic level, it carries information from the brain to the other organs in your body and vice versa. But what it's known for, especially in the wellness community, from a well-being perspective, is that it's a key part of our parasympathetic nervous system. So this controls our rest and digest response, which manifests as a calm, restorative state. So it's basically the opposite of fight or flight. So when you're in this rest and digest state, you feel calm, collected, relaxed, and yourself. When the vagus nerve is functioning as it should, it encourages the body to shift out of that fight or flight state into that rest and digest state. But this is a lot of chat, so where is the scientific evidence of this? So this has been evidenced in the study of cold stimulation, where cold temperatures stimulate the vagus nerve, lowering the heart rate and slowing breathing in response. So if you want to know more about this, I'll put a link to the study in the information box. But a good real life example of this is if you've ever done cold water therapy, where you go into a lake or a river or a sea or a plunge pool even. And initially, because the water is so cold, it like takes your breath away. And you feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna panic. You go into that really fight or flight mode. But then after a beat, your breathing will slow down, your heart rate will slow as well, and it will shift your mood. So if you've ever done it, afterwards, you kind of have this like giddy feeling of like, oh, I've just done something that's really worthwhile, really beneficial for me. And that is thanks to vagus nerve stimulation. So vagus nerve stimulation is really a kind of exercise for everyone. It's beneficial for everyone, but people who really may see a difference are those who have anxiety, a lot of stress, who have trouble sleeping. Maybe you overthink a lot, or you have trouble kind of relaxing and resting. And these are all issues that I've personally struggled with over the last year. I'd say over the last year, I've really overworked myself kind of professionally and personally. And that has manifested in anxiety, overthinking, trouble getting to sleep. And also this is causing kind of jaw and neck pain for me, which I've deduced is down to muscle strain and tension from clenching my jaw because I'm stressed. So I've made a commitment over the next year to really reduce my stress levels where I can and engage in practices that actually benefit my well-being. Instead of deprioritizing them and getting to them when I can, I need to make them a priority. So when Pulsetto got in touch and said that they wanted me to review this product, I was definitely intrigued. I am a firm believer in that you have everything that you need naturally in order to make yourself feel well in a general sense. I'm not opposed to tech in any way, but I will go to these methods like cold water therapy, like self-massage, meditation, and things like that first before I opt for anything like supplementation or technology. But in this case, and the reason I was intrigued by this device, was that it's something that you can use very quickly and that isn't too disruptive to your routine. And in fact, it can become part of your regular routine that can complement your well-being habits. So let's get into what Pulsetto actually does. The long and short of it is that it's a wearable that stimulates the vagus nerve. Now, traditionally, people stimulate the vagus nerve through all of the things that I mentioned before, like cold water therapy, breath work as well. Some people do it through humming, cold exposure, self-massage, things like that. But there are actually a lot of variables to that. And if you're someone who likes to really measure the benefit of a certain habit or practice, then wearables actually offer a more consistent and easier option for that. So this is a device that you wear around your neck. It is hands-free, so you can wear it while you're brushing your teeth, reading a book, or just getting on with your work. And that's a great benefit for people with busy lifestyles who may be the kind of people that this device is actually great for. So how does it work? So when you're wearing it around your neck, it delivers electrical signals to the vagus nerve. And these electrical signals stimulate it. It really is as simple as that. It comes with a conductive gel, which you place either on your neck or on the device itself. And then you'll need to place these metal nodes basically where you think that your vagus nerve sits. The device itself is expandable and retractable, and it comes with 2 pillows, one of which is kind of very chunky and one is a little bit chunky because basically everyone has a different size neck. The device as it stands is actually a little bit too big for me, so these chunky pillows help quite a lot to get it into the right position for me. The Pulsetto can be controlled with a really handy app. It connects via Bluetooth and you have different programs for anxiety, for sleep, which adjusts the intensity of the electrical stimulation. Currently, Pulsetto has over 100,000 users, so plenty of people testing out this device and making it a part of their regular wellness routine. They found that users had 28% lower stress levels, 18% improvement in sleep quality, and a 22% happiness boost. But the biggest change was that 86% of users felt calmer and less stressed after using Pulsetto. So after reading those, I was like, okay, this sounds great. Let me give it a go. So let's talk about my experience using this device. It was really easy to use. After that kind of initial period of getting it adjusted and in the right place, or where I felt it was in the right place for me, it was incredibly easy to get working. The app was intuitive and easy to use. And I definitely didn't have any struggles from a technical perspective. Actually using it, so the electrical pulses felt tingly and I want to say like buzzy, but definitely not painful in any way. It was comfortable to use and I got very used to it after maybe a couple of uses. Now when I'm using it, it just feels like part of my routine. The gel, I kind of initially struggled with it kind of sensory wise. I'm not a gel person, like I'm more of a in terms of skincare, like creams and things like that. I never really use gels. And you do have to clean the gel off your neck and the device afterwards, but honestly, keep a towel nearby. It takes 2 seconds. But after all that, did it work? Because that's what we all want to know, isn't it? So I decided to set a goal to measure how well the Pulsetto would work for me. I wanted it to help me address anxiety and overthinking. I overthink a lot. I think about things that I said 5 years ago that were embarrassing, things that I'm nervous about that I have to do for work, social events. And this is why it's been difficult for me getting to sleep because I overthink sleeping. And when I get into bed, I'm thinking, okay, I need to go to sleep now because otherwise I'll only get 7 hours sleep. Or if I go to sleep now, I'll get 6 hours. And then it just ends up taking me hours and hours to get to sleep. So I wanted this device to help me be able to address that. And because I overthink a lot, I wanted to use Pulsetto every time it happened. But the recommended use is 2 to 3 times daily for 4 minutes each. So I followed the rules in the hopes that it would help me feel more relaxed and calm and collected overall so that overthinking and anxiety would reduce. I must admit, it took a while for the effects to get going. I was actually close to giving up. And there's this huge contradiction of there's a saying, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping to get different results. But at the same time, and especially with well-being habits, you need to persist with them in order to measure and see change. So me being really determined, I persisted and I did begin seeing results. I have mild anxiety. It's not anxiety disorder and it's not medically diagnosed. It's not affecting my daily life to the point where I need it medically diagnosed. It's just a little bit of anxiety here and there, as many other people get. So I self-manage it and Pulsetto has really helped support that. I use it just once daily and I've established a routine now. So I always use it for 4 minutes before I go to sleep, making sure that I don't fall asleep with it around my neck, of course. And there aren't any other factors involved, like I haven't started listening to a sleep podcast or a guided meditation or anything like that. I just use the device and I have been getting to sleep, maybe within the first 10 minutes after taking off the device. So with that being said, let me talk through the pros and cons that I found with using this device and the app. So the pros. Pulsetto is quick and easy to use. One thing I found that stops me from engaging in certain wellness activities is the kind of barrier or block to them. So for example, like cold water therapy, I've tried it a few times. I did really enjoy it when I did it, but it's going somewhere like a body of water or a plunge pool, or even if it's just my shower, it's the thought of going into this and getting really uncomfortable that is a barrier to me. It might not be to other people, but it is for me. And it's the same with exercise. I really love exercise when I'm doing it, but it's the thought that I have to leave my house or I have to put on my gym gear. And it might seem like these things are pointing to laziness or poor motivation, but they are kind of mental barriers. But with the Pulsetto, there's pretty much no barrier there. It's very, very quick and easy to use. The app itself is great. It's very intuitive. It literally guides you through every step that you need to take in order to get your device working, get signed up, and engage in your first session. It asks you some questions that I don't find very invasive. They're things like, how stressed are you? Are you in any pain? How burnt out do you feel? Do you have trouble getting to sleep? And this helps it pick out the ideal programs to target what you need most. I also really like the way that the Pulsetto looks and feels because they've got those cushions there. That has really made it easier to use the device and feel comfortable using it. The battery life is also great. You get almost 2 weeks of use without charging, and the effects of device use have been tangible for me. So now onto the cons. Sensory-wise, the gel feels a little bit unusual to use. I'm just not used to using gels. As I said, I did get used to it after a little while. And the tube that they give you, they say is enough for 1 month, but to be honest, I can use a lot less than they recommend and still get the same effect. And I feel like it can last you a lot longer. You can actually buy the gel from the Pulsetto website, but to be honest, if you find it cheaper on Amazon or any other place that sells a conductive gel, it has to be a conductive gel, then there's no reason you can't use that. The other con is that this is a pricey device. Although I'm someone who extols the virtues of natural wellness practices like meditation and things like that, I do also invest into my well-being. So I will pay for fitness classes. I will pay for massages and to have better nutrition or have a diet plan because wellness for me is a priority and I want to invest into that. However, I know that not everyone can invest money into their wellness and not everyone can afford this device. Luckily, Pulsetto have given me a discount code so that if you did want to try Pulsetto and you feel that you can afford to invest in it, then you can get it at a discounted rate. So I hope that gave you a little bit more insight into Pulsetto, how it works, how it affects the vagus nerve, and its benefits. As always, although I've been given an item to review by the company, my reviews are unbiased and impartial. It's always important for me to be honest with you about how I really feel about a product and if it did or didn't work for me. Any information, links to studies, links to the product itself and my discount code can be found in the information box below. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video.